What is a welcome back? Still on Good Morning Anambra discussion segment. A man cheated death when three-story building collapsed. And Nigeria recently is recording 54 building collapse over 4 years. Many cases of building collapse across the world. Why? What is happening? Why is it so? This is the basis of what we want to talk about today regarding preventing building collapse in Nigeria and also in other areas. IJ.
Okay, we'd like to welcome you to this second segment, and that's exactly what we're going to look at, the menace of building collapse.
Okay, we've been joined by Mr. Peniel T.A. Jack. He is the coordinator, National Environmental Standard Regulation Agency. I want to say welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Anambra State.
I'm glad to be in the program.
Good. We're also here with Engineer Anthony Aniebwe. Engineer, I want to say welcome.
Thank you very much. You're all welcome.
The support of engineers.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said when I was doing the introduction, records have it that 54 building collapse cases in 4 years in Nigeria. And we also have cases of such in all parts of the world. And then many people are saying, what is the cause? Why is it so? Let's look at it. Let me start with you, Jack.
Okay. Thank you very much. Building collapse is not a strange thing. Ever since the civilization started, man was able to build. It's been as a result of several factors. Some out of negligence, some out of ignorance, and some, we say, acts of God. Like early this week, we had an incident in Katsina, the flood incident, and buildings were damaged. Although not that fortified buildings, much of them were villages, and you have the mud settings. It's all, yes, it's all an implication of what the natural elements can impact on man. So there are, like I said, there are myriad reasons and factors. Negligence. One key, every building is prone to collapse, but the high-rise, the multi-story buildings are more prone. And when you look at that, so many factors.
Are they built to collapse?
They are not. I said they are more prone to collapse.
So when you say that every building is prone to collapse?
Yes.
Are they built to collapse?
They are not built to collapse. The initial intention is not to build to collapse. It's to build to inhabit. But like we said, there are factors. Such factors like ignorance, what I mentioned earlier, negligence from professionals, cutting corners, and the rest of it. One factor we actually take not serious in this part of the country is soil test. Soil have their capacity to withstand load. And when you overload it, there is tendency for settlements.
Okay, we're still going to come to that. Engineer, what's your take on that? Here in Anambra State, there are cases in all parts of the country, cases of such. So what's your take as an engineer?
Thank you very much. Technically speaking, most of the building collapses we have in our environment can be attributed to negligence. Negligence that also has its roots to ignorance. Actually, there are that can occur due to natural causes, like my brother here have said, the act of God. But you can understand that whenever man raises structures, there are guidelines and rules to raise them. There are standards that must be maintained. Whenever you flout those rules, those standards, those stipulated, regulated factors, there is tendency that what you put on top of another may collapse. in building, there are standards, material testing, not just soil. I want to tell you that you can build, some people have been building on coastal areas, swamp areas, but once you maintain standards, once you maintain the regulated factors and put everything in place, the structure will sustain. So what we have observed as engineers is that sometimes people patronize people who are not qualified to erect building, probably because they believe they want to cut corners. In cutting corner, you save costs. Sometimes where you should use certain measure of rod, that is metal, to reinforce the concrete, you cut corner, reduce the size. Sometimes other materials are shortchanged, and when you use such substandard materials, there is tendency for the building to collapse.
Okay, but I know that we have a body that is responsible for this, because over the years there has been this outcry from the general public about building collapse in this country. And there's body that's supposed to look at these buildings, like you mentioned, engineer Jack, soil test, quality of the building material. So what is this body doing to make sure that we don't have building collapse? Just like you have rightly corrected yourself that nobody is building,
for building to collapse.
For the building to collapse.
Well, there are several institutions established by government, and there are also civil societies that are also engaged in monitoring of such activities. For the government aspect, each state has the urban and planning authority who are supposed to look at these drawings when they are designed, and every other factor, special considerations and the rest of it, and then append the approval. In other words, these establishments are to vet from the structural drawing, electrical drawings, and the rest. Somebody should actually assess it, analyze it, and if it's okay, you approve. And then there is also the inspection aspect. After the approval, you ought to be on the field to also monitor if what you approved on paper is actually implemented on ground.
Okay, look at what we have there. Building that collapsed, possibly. Is it the man avoided the soil testing or the material testing? What's that possible?
Let me. From this picture you've just put across, I think if I can recollect where that happened, I don't know whether it's in Oka here. But I want to also remind you, I'm an environmental health officer. And those days of our school days and early practice, we tend building plans. We attend to building plans. Like my brother said, you approve building plans. And I want to tell you that the procedure is that from the day the plan has been approved, from the commencement of the building to the end of that construction, our officers are expected to go to the site.
But oftentimes you see a building that is upcoming. After some time, they go and write stop work. Where were there when they started the foundation?
That's the area I'm coming in now. That's the area I'm coming in now.
Okay.
You see, our job then was that from the day you start, first of all, when you look at building plan, it is not just the plan of the building. You look at also the environmental planning. Before you approve a plan, you must look at the site. That is what we call the site plan. That place you may not supposed to build. It is in the plan, inspecting and looking at the plan that we know. Because there may be some reasons why that place is not supposed to be built upon. And when you bring your plan, you bring the address, you bring the location, you describe everything.
And if they bring those things, do you go to?
That is the point. This is the point I'm making. From even the location, from the plan, you state where you are building, the address. government must know where you are building. And if that place is not to be built upon, there are areas you cannot build high-rise building for reasons of like soil and the rest of them. There are areas that have some underground, maybe tunnels, which you may not know. There are areas that are supposed to be areas that drain will pass. You are not supposed to build. But recently, so in that aspect, you are not going to approve that plan.
But if the person goes on to build?
Of course, that is where you can now say stop work.
Stop work.
Okay.
And the next day, you don't see that paint again and the work continues.
Good. No, that's the problem. Where corruption comes in is that after you have said stop work, at the end of the day, what happened? Do they really stop work? Somebody does one thing or the other.
Okay, let's leave it there.
That is
You
what
wanted
we
to say
mean
something.
about negligence. The negligence is not just from the private sector, also the public, the government aspect. Like you rightly mentioned, the work is analyzed and deemed not fit for that purpose. And then the next day, you see the building continues. Means somebody along the line has compromised. So it's actually a pity that we've not been able to checkmate all of that. But actually, there are establishments set up to look at all of this.
And that's exactly what I want to ask you. What has stopped you from checking it?
Okay, what has stopped you from checking it? Let's our viewer there, we want to tell you the numbers on your screen. You can now call us and tell us how to do this prevention so that we don't have more building collapses in the country. Go ahead and
yes, because I know that some of these bodies are well established with laws, regulating them. So you have powers too. Why wouldn't you stop work when you're supposed to?
I am from NESRA, and NESRA is an agency mandated to enforce environmental laws, not actually town planning laws. Okay. But let me infer from as a regulatory body also. Now, if I consider the challenges I go through as an environmental enforcement officer, in the building aspect too, I'm sure they encounter such challenges. Yeah. Now you have people who are politically placed or highly placed in the society who have one or two contacts. And when you go and disapprove their building, you begin to get calls from...
Look at this.
Yes, you begin to get calls from all kinds of frontiers. That impedes you at the point you are like powerless to continue your assignment. There are also the aspects of, I won't deny that some regulatory officers can compromise, like we had said earlier, and then see how they could cover information or, prevent the authority from actually seeing the illegalities that is there. There's also, government establishment need to be well funded. People need to get to the sites to inspect. How often? How do you fund them? Do they have the?
Do you mean funding the people that you do?
The agencies.
Yes, the agencies.
Are you now saying that it's poor funding that could lead them to compromising? Is that what you're saying?
When you give rooms for such situations, there are tendencies. I'm not saying it's
okay, like the building we just saw on the screen there, yes, that collapsed. The thing from foundation up to that level, and yet there was no good inspection to that. If the material
no. If they're like human buildings are like human beings. If you tender them very well, they look fresh and alive. Mm-hmm. If you leave them unattended to, they decay. Buildings are like that. So if we look at, let's take the situation of Bangladesh, where you had the building collapse and over thousands of persons died, especially from the tailoring factory. Now that building was said to be a two-story building or so, and the landlord decided to raise it more, maybe for more gains. And then, maybe the authorities were not on ground to actually do their work to disapprove.
Why wouldn't the authorities be on ground? Because that was exactly what happened. From the information I got, from my findings, that recently a building collapsed at Ubosi. That was on Saturday. Okay, and I went around asking, and they said that the foundation of that building was meant for three-story building.
That's it, the one at Ubosi.
And after three-story building, the man started adding the fourth one. Okay, and nobody checkmated him. And that place is very soft. That's why we mentioned the soil.
Sorry.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Just
Okay,
I mentioned the problem of soil. That particular place is erosion prone. And this man went ahead building 4-story building and he collapsed.
We are overlooking the
What is
reason.
the
reason
agencies
there,
doing?
in this
Because
aspect, you are
government
mentioning.
cannot be everywhere. It is the agencies that are supposed to handle this issue.
I told you before that when the environmental health department of the local government, we are handling building plan approval. We go to the site in every stage.
I want to hear
we
from
go
you.
to the site from the foundation stage. At every stage, an officer or officers must go to the site to ascertain how the work was going on.
Are you saying you don't do that again?
The work has been taken away from environmental health officers and given to town planners.
And you are saying that town planners
I
do
don't
that?
know.
They don't
I am trying to
supervise
tell you the procedure, how it used to be done.
Okay.
So because some of the things you pointed out here is that at every stage of this work, nobody is supervising. When you approve certain things to be done on a site, and nobody goes there to supervise whether those things are really being used, so errors, somebody, not even error, somebody may be compromised, like you rightly pointed out. In those areas, even an officer can go there and be given something and he will overlook some certain errors, which is
When
very
life
wrong.
is involved. So
Now, how can you tell me that a foundation that was already made for 2-story building, and somebody all of a sudden removed the roof and start putting in another decking, another platform, and nobody got there to say, this foundation was originally meant for 2-story building, and now you are putting 3, you are putting 4, and people were supposed to go there, they didn't go. So what I'm trying to say that all these are the human errors, the human oversight. And when you look at it, you say the regulatory bodies. Yes, the regulatory bodies are talking about are also part of government.
Okay.
So
the caller just mentioned engineers, our engineers. So it's as if he's trying to trade blames to engineers.
The truth is what we don't get what we expect. We most times get what we inspect. That's what they say. Now, the side of the government is to, as much as possible, monitor, follow these structures as they come up. What if the government have done their own bit? The government will not always be there at the site when the work goes on. They come there from time to time. The engineer on ground, what does he do? Is it that when the government officials are coming, you find dress everything, and when they go back, you return back to your normal practices?
That's what we'll
At that point in time, there is nothing the government can do. Like I was trying to say, the funds are not that available. Developing countries don't have the fund to, go the extra miles like that. So the little we have.
Okay, let's know he's here. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, is that Chinedu calling back?
Yeah.
Okay, Chinedu from Oka. Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm saying is that when the engineer charges work, he is supposed to know the background of the place that is the grant that he charged. And again, what causes corruption of housing is that when you charge work low. Then you are trying to manage the work so that you can be able to deliver the work. It may cause the collapsing of house. So when you economize it, then
thank you, but
He has
that's a very solid
point.
point. Did
He
you
has
hear
a
that?
point. Yeah.
When you are tendering your what do you call it?
Yeah, there's the charge.
Proposal.
The charge.
For
Yeah,
proposal for the
yeah.
job, okay? You charge low because you want to get the job by all means, bearing in mind that you're going to use inferior building materials for that building. At the end of the day, the building collapses. That's exactly what Chido
that
is
is-
talking
that
about.
on the
So what do you have
engineers.
to say
That
about
is where I was trying to say. Many people have contributory input there. Most times, even the person giving the contract may not even like to spend. That is where we said, as a qualified engineer, you don't cut corners. If a building is to cost 2 million naira, insist on that. Don't say because you are hungry, I must get this contract. Therefore, you go down to 1 million. And then when you go down to 1 million and it's given to you because you are unquote the lowest bidder, then you now discover you must cut corner.
Okay,
you must reduce the size of the rod.
By way of trying to round off, how can we prevent building collapse?
Preventing building collapse is that we must stick to the specifications, the material specifications, the official procedure of monitoring building under construction must be followed. At every stage of the project, somebody must be there to insist that you follow standard. Somebody cannot erect one floor. You cannot fine-tune the site. When I come to inspect a building in a stage and you discover you have put rod and the rod is not of the appropriate size, and then I will allow it because you have put it. You must remove it. So the point is that we must insist on doing the right thing. The standard must be followed. The procedure must be followed. Everybody must play his own part.
Okay, thank you very much. And as you tell us the solution, look at the building material, quality of the materials that are used in building.
I will advocate for professionalism, both on the public side and on the government side. Whoever is responsible for such building should bear in mind that there are consequences. The consequences is not just for life, also the environment. A building that collapses will release toxic substances into the atmosphere. The immediate environment may not be affected, but distant away, somebody will inhale that thing, compromising the air quality. So I will advocate for professionalism both on the public sector and from the private sector.
Professionalism is the in thing. Everybody should actually do his or her own work well in order to avoid more collapses of building. We don't want somebody to cheat debt again by surpassing.
Some are not even fortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we must thank you so much for coming on board, Mr. Peniel J. T. Jack, for coming of the National Environmental Standard Regulation Agency. Hopefully, we're going to bring you back again to really expand on the environment. Okay, I want to thank you also, Engineer Anthony Anebwe, for really giving bites to this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, IJ.
Yeah.
We have to, we want to tell you, stand by us to go back to the second part of our discussion segment on Good Morning Anambra. Stay with us.
Thank you.